of my favorite desserts to create is a trifle. Though very age-old in its making and concepts, a trifle is a confusion of sorts and a novice's saving grace, because if you have a little smart thinking with you, a trifle can be taken and styled to the next level. In today's cooking, I'm going to take my favorite cake, that's the Black Forest, and convert it into a trifle with a lot of confusion and mishaps, but getting out a perfectly styled, elegant dessert. Let's get to creating it. When you think of a Black Forest in a trifle, the first thing that comes to mind is a cake that has gone off the beaten track and converted into a trifle. No, we're going to style it up with a chocolate mousse, ditch the red cherries and add some frozen raspberries to the mix, some jello and a whole lot of goodness coming in, each flavor in each bite. So out here I've got 8 egg yolks into my steel bowl, and I'm going to get to creating a sabayon with 8 tablespoons of sugar, the only difficult part in creating this trifle. Whisk this on a double boiler for a good 15 minutes till it goes from a saffrony ochre yellow to a pale lemon color. Whisking this till it comes to soft lemon yellow pink clouds is a perfect sabayon, and this forms the great stabilizer in that gorgeous chocolate mousse that we are going to create. As this has got to that gorgeous lemon yellow color and it's slightly aerated, it's time now to add some frozen butter into it. So 150 grams of salted yellow butter is just going to go in, and we are going to whisk the two together. Bask in that glorious sheen that comes through as the butter melts. With the sabayon done, and what a workout that was, I've got 500 grams of dark 80% bitter chocolate, and I've put it into the microwave and tempered it. We're just going to allow it to smoothen out, and we're going to fold it into that gorgeous sabayon. While the chocolate has tempered to perfection, I always like to transfer my sabayon into a glass bowl just so that those overworked up parts don't come into it. Pour the chocolate in and get to folding the two together. Every last bit of it gone in, just gently fold the two. And your mousse base is ready. We're not going to lighten this with some cream because we're going to give it those specks of Black Foresty goodness coming through with the cream separate. Well emulsified and that gorgeous chocolatey sheen coming through. This goes into the refrigerator just to come down in its temperature for a good 30 minutes. And then we get to the fun part of creating a trifle. "30 minutes of allowing your mousse base to chill, and if you find it too thick, it's best to add about 100 ml of full fat cream just to thin it down slightly. This is not set, but it's cool and ready to go bang into that trifle. Trifles always need to be laid in a transparent or a see-through bowl, specifically to see the layers build up. And never hesitate to use a store-bought variant of a jello. Raspberry or red cherry work perfectly well, but I am going twisted with some raspberries. So while I created 1 pack of jello, I've set half in it so that you get the bottom layer of jelly, and I've just roughly set the other half and loosened it out with a fork to put it in between. This is a shortcut so you can create a jello. Plus, at the same time, I've created another set that nestles right on top. So now to start off, it's all about building the layers. With this ready, you take a layer of store-bought variant of a dark brown sponge and settle it right at the bottom. There is nothing more infuriating than dry sponge. So out here, I've got a sugar syrup. Just 3 tablespoons of sugar with about 100 ml of water, and 60 mils of dark rum. You soak your sponge really well, and this helps your trifle to be nice and moist without it being too dry and pasty. So soak it with about 4 tablespoons of this gorgeous rum scented sugar syrup. And now comes the contrary color of whipped cream. So I've got about 500 mils of whipped cream out here, but I'm just going to be as liberal as possible. Put it down, allow it to go into all the crevices, but at the same time get perfect. The perfect trifle has that chocolatey emulsion on top. So just take a large ladle of this gorgeous mousse base and allow it to nestle on top. This gives it all its gorgeous colors. You can take another half. Quite a messy affair, but the end result is by far unique, beautiful, and a treat to enjoy. This loosely set jelly gives it those color specks on top. Few bits and pieces of it right in, and finally next goes the next level of sliced sponge. Following the same principles, you soak the sponge in this rum-laden liqueur sugar syrup. As moist as you want it to be, but at the same time you want the flavor to be sharp. Add the whipped cream and smoothen it down. A large dollop of this gorgeous chocolate mousse base, and I'm not letting it set because I want a happy accident to happen with everything setting together yet holding on to their individualistic flavors and layers. So finally, with that done, just add a little bit of this preset jelly, preferably on the side so that the color shows through in the bowl. Shortcuts make work so much more easier and fun. The next level of sponge on top, and now work gently but with firm strokes because you don't want everything to mush and get to the bottom. So 3 tablespoons of this rum soaked sugar syrup, not more than 3 because you don't want it to be dense. Some whipped cream. And if you see now, the cream is slightly more stiffer so that it holds its shape. Lightly marble it all through. Some more chocolate. And now I'm going to add the raspberry jelly, which is cooled down but not really set. So I want this to give it that color but settle into all the nooks and crannies. Now we're going to set this in the refrigerator for a good 1.5 hours before adding the final layer on top. Happy accident, as I call this. The final layer of the dark sponge on top. And we are just going to pour every last bit of this chocolate. Although it looks like a confusion and an utter chaos in a bowl, that's the beauty of a trifle because you allow it to set in the refrigerator for a good 1.5 to 2 hours before putting the final garnish and marble on top. So the chocolate, and if you've noticed, I've not soaked this thing because the raspberry jelly just absorbs right into it. So the set jelly goes on top and this goes bang into the refrigerator to set now. Now the top of this trifle has to definitely emulate a Black Forest. So while this has set and set beautifully, let's get to that final garnish. 150 mils of whipped cream nestles on top. Just drizzle it as attractively as possible. You don't need to do too much because you want them to have little snow peaks. Chocolate shavings just scattered roughly. Snow-capped mountains of the forest working perfectly well with a bit of shavings. And though it's a clumsy affair, you need to get it right into the corners as well. Garnishing this with frozen raspberries, specks of the red coming through is a delight and just breaks the overall color of this creation. So scatter them as roughly as possible, allowing them to settle well into it, but at the same time shine through and through. And lastly, an overload of some nutties just to bite the colors in. This happy creation works its magic into it, and the best way to enjoy this is allow it to settle overnight and let all the flavors come through and through. I've used 200 grams of frozen raspberries out here. You can always go overboard and add some more. My fondness for trifle takes on a whole new meaning with this Black Forest Trifle. It's a happy accident that is well manipulated and the flavors are sharp and contrary flavors come together in perfect harmony. This dessert is preferred to sit overnight so that the flavors get more pronounced and enjoyed the next day. A classic Easter delight for family and friends, this dessert is new age yet with a little bit of our old school charm. I hope you enjoyed creating this confusion of sorts with me. Don't forget to share loads of love by hitting on the like button, and as I always say, don't forget to subscribe.